Welcome to I Put It To You, the podcast where we put the questions on the table, unpack the facts, and get real about the things that you really want to know. Today, joining me in the hot seat, not so hot seat for him, is one of our directors, Grant van Bochove, the feared one if you listen to my podcast with the clerks.
What do you mean feared?
Ja, hulle sê hulle is bang vir jou.
I'm really gonna have to work on that.
So yeah, welcome Grant.
They must dread me, not fear me.
Yeah, well, same. They love working with you, so it's not just bad. Grant, before we get started, I want to take the opportunity to congratulate you. Grant had a very interesting case yesterday in Sasolburg Court against the Human Rights Commission, and I think give credit where credit is due. Congratulations, Grant. He got a cost order and the case was dismissed.
It was a bit of a slog. We started in January and we worked at this. It was one of those cases where I thought, okay, we're in for a massive fight. And after I submitted our supplementary affidavits, everything just went quiet. And yesterday we had their claim dismissed against client, and we got the requisite cost order. We were asking for more, but the court was disinclined to grant us attorney and client scale costs.
Well,
but we still got costs on scale C. So this is hopefully going to teach the applicant that it's not just easy to run to court and you're going to get what you want.
Absolutely, yeah. So I just want to congratulate you, Grant.
Thank you.
Now get comfortable. We're gonna get going. My goal with each and every episode is to equip the listener, give them the basic facts. Just they don't know everything. So grab your coffee and let's get going. Now, the one thing I always say is death and divorce is the one thing nobody wants to talk about, but it's the inevitable.
Well, death is usually cheaper.
Well, it could be cheaper.
But I never said that.
Grant, so I put it to you. At the Beer Claassen, we have a wide variety of expertise. Tell the listener where your expertise lies. Why should they call Grant? What can you help them with?
Well, initially, when I started out, I cut my teeth in the criminal courts. And I do believe it's very important for an attorney to do that. Yeah. You want them to become au fait and comfortable in the court setting. And the criminal courts build that in a person because you've got to think on your feet. And then my department basically started adapting more into children's court, divorce, domestic violence, that kind of thing. And then we started moving more into labor, that area of the law as well. So basically at this point, my practice is primarily divorce, domestic violence, labor work. There's a lot of to and froing in the domestic violence courts as well. I'm actually running on my way after this interview through to Vanderbijl to go and deal with a harassment matter, which is very, very similar to the domestic violence court. The acts were actually put together in a very, very similar way. And it's quasi-criminal, quasi-civil type procedure that you have to follow.
I know before starting at the Beer Claassen, I was at another firm, and when you hear Grant, I'm like, oh yeah. So yeah, Grant is known for that guy who speaks up and speaks his mind, and which is a very good thing. It gets you where you want to be. I always know it was the family. Whenever they said family court, and then now Grant is the opposing attorney, I was like, oh my sister. So yeah, Grant is very, very good and comes highly recommended in divorce, family, and criminal as well. But yeah, you have been really flourishing lately in the labor department as well.
The beginning of this year, it's as if the floodgates opened on the labor side. But again, primarily, I would say 60 to 80% of my work all stems from disputes in the family setting.
Yes, yeah. Well, I've done probably a total of 3 divorces in my short life as being an attorney, and I know it's definitely not my area that I want to proceed in. I always joke and say, if the Beer Claassen has to tell me you need to go back to litigation, we're going to have a problem. But what I find interesting about divorce is, and I quickly looked at the facts a bit, in 2024, divorce spiked by like 8.9%, and it's mostly initiated by women. What do you think is the reasons people end up divorcing?
Well, there's a plethora of factors, and in most of the matters that I deal with, number one, if the finances go, love goes out the back door.
Yeah.
So that is usually the issue. Another aspect to look at is people actually get tired of one another. Now, we've moved to a system in South Africa, and there was that phase shift here between 2007 and 2013, where the courts moved to a no-fault principle. So before, if somebody caused your breakup of your marriage because your partner was messing around with a third party, you could actually sue them.
Yeah.
Now you can't. The courts are no longer looking at that. That aspect of the law is still around. You can issue summons, but good luck getting it right and getting it through the courts and actually being successful with the claim. So I would say most people, and it's a very emotional situation when you're dealing with divorces.
Yeah.
So most people will come in and say, okay, we're no longer communicating effectively. Every single conversation that we have ends up in a fight.
Yeah. Constant battling with one another.
Yeah, and it's just lack of effective communication is the basis of that.
Yeah.
A lot of the time, even if there's third parties involved or it's a financial issue, if the parties are talking, and I'm thankful that the parties can't talk, because that means at the end of the day, I'm going to make a bit of money.
Good business.
Yeah, it's a good business strategy. But a lot of the time, a divorce doesn't have to be acrimonious.
Yeah.
So if the parties if I can get the parties just to, number one, calm down.
Yeah, because emotions, it goes from this to this in a matter of 0.2 seconds.
Yeah, the guys already want to kill one another.
Yes.
And now you're adding fuel to the fire because now you're putting them into a situation that is uncomfortable. People need to understand that when you start with this process, it's going to, number one, be an emotional battle.
Yeah.
I always advise my clients, go and get yourself a therapist. If there's kids involved, there's even more trauma that you have to deal with.
Yeah.
And be ready for that, because it's not easy.
Okay, so when we go back to the reasons, we say it's a lack of communication between parties, they drift apart, and the financial aspect is quite interesting, because that's one thing that I've noted is people get divorced because financially it's not going as it should be anymore, and it's sad because that's not why you should get divorced. One thing I noted is, and this is where you can say yes or no, most people recently getting divorced is the people who hasn't even reached the 10-year wedding anniversary mark.
A lot of the time it's that, but I put that down to possible incompatibility in the beginning. So not knowing the person you're now entering into this marriage with properly. Test the waters beforehand. Gone are the days of like arranged marriages and that kind of thing. I mean, you get lumped into this lifelong relationship, and you didn't have a say. Go out, feel these people out. And a lot of people, and I've seen it with clients where they come to me and they say, okay, we tried to make it work. We thought that, okay, by having a child, it'll improve that situation. It'll get us to grow closer together. There's further boundaries you're putting in your way. Don't make those mistakes. And the nice thing is, I learn from a lot of my clients' mistakes.
Absolutely.
So I'm advising from a position where I've done so many of these divorces, and I've seen these set of facts. And you've seen the same set of facts 100 times already. And then it's just the faces that change.
that thing about the kids. Have kids, then your marriage will be fine. That's not true.
You're adding a further boundary because you already there's turmoil.
So a lot of people want to know in South Africa, they always hear, go see the attorney. Is it possible for South Africans to attend to their own divorce in South Africa? And would you recommend it? If you say, yes, they can, but...
They can.
Yeah.
So in terms of litigation, anybody can move their own case.
Yeah.
But it's about being able to succinctly and properly put down what factors you're relying on in your case.
Yeah.
Now, I've had a lot of clients come back to me and say, Grant, but you're not addressing all the aspects in your particulars of claim when we're issuing this divorce summons. I'm saying, look at what we have put down, because incorporated in what I've said are all these factors.
Yes.
That will become an issue should this matter go to trial. Now, another thing is, if there's two parties and they're unrepresented, hopefully they can come together and sort it out and enter into
But they don't have the knowledge, and that's the thing that I'm trying to get to for the people listening.
In court, they can approach the registrar. The registrar would advise them.
Yeah.
But if you think that there's going to be a defense on this divorce, on this action that you put in place, get yourself legal representation.
Yeah. So you can, but not recommended.
It's not recommended because there's a lot of factors that you have to take into consideration. Things like pension funds, maintenance.
We're getting to all of that. That
division.
And that's the reason I want to say, if you get to the point of divorcing, just go see an attorney. Don't try to sort this out yourself. You have the knowledge to tell them what to do. You mentioned the summons part. Now, for the layperson on the street, if I tell them you have to start by doing a summons, they're like, what is that? Explain to the listener the process of getting the divorce started.
So essentially what we would do, people will come to see us, and then specifically in my department, they fill in a form, being your instructions pertaining to a matrimonial matter.
Yeah.
And in that, they will outline who is the plaintiff. Are they going to be the plaintiff? Is the other side going to be the plaintiff?
Usually, if the other side is the plaintiff, summons has already been served.
Yeah. And we then look at that, and then from that, in that, they will actually put out how many children do we have? What are the ages of these kids? Are they major? Are they minor? Are they self-supporting? All of that. And then we will draft a particulars of claim, which is annexed to your summons, because that's the basis on which you are now approaching the court for this divorce. And in that summons, in those particulars of claims and that summons, you would have, this is the plaintiff, this is the defendant, this court has jurisdiction. Then we would have to vest, is there a marriage? How was that marriage? Was it customarily thing? Was it a civil marriage? How were they married?
So all of that details is contained in the summons. Now,
everything gets put into your particulars of claim, and that must be conveyed to the court. Because if you miss certain aspects, the court will throw your case out.
Yeah.
And that's why it's important, know what is required.
Yes, absolutely. Now, if I have to come to you, I don't know how a divorce process works, and you say, we need to draft the particulars of claim, and I say, good, I'll pick it up from you on Wednesday, 10 o'clock, then I'll go take it to Pity, and I'll just throw him the papers and say, there's no swear. Is that how it works, or is there a certain way it should be delivered?
Once you have structured your claim, you would then take that summons and have it issued by the registrar. So that can either be in the regional courts, alternatively the High Court. Once it's issued, you will then get a case number. Then that document must come back to the attorney. Once it's back in our office, we will then send it to the sheriff, and the sheriff will then have to serve it personally on the other side.
Not annexing it to the door.
They cannot annex it. This needs to be personal service, or the magistrate or the judge must condone the type of service. Now, we've had a lot of cases recently where the other party, the defendant in these matters, is sitting overseas. So then we would actually ask the court, before we even have, we get a case number, your documents are issued, but before we serve it, we move an application and we ask the court, will you condone us serving via a certain media? So via email.
Yeah.
Can we serve on the premises via attachment? Can we serve by actually putting and advertising this summons in local and national newspapers? Because sometimes the people don't know where this person's residing anymore.
That's crazy.
And it makes it has a massive impact.
But the court is willing to assist with that.
The court
so
is
your
willing
hands
to
isn't
assist,
chopped off
but
if you don't know where it
you
is.
need to jump through quite a couple of hoops to get there. So if this person was ordinarily resident and you separated 10 years ago, now you can't find them. Then we have to show the court, these are the steps we went through to try and trace this person. And usually in those situations it would be, okay, we had their last known phone numbers. We contacted Home Affairs to try and get their whereabouts. We've used their last emails. We've had no response.
Tried everything.
We've tried everywhere. The last resort is basically national newspaper dissemination in terms of that. But it becomes extremely expensive to do that.
And it comes back to having the knowledge. If you on your own try and attempt that, you will not have a clue
I would just say good luck.
Yeah. Stab there. You mentioned the regional court or the high court. When is a divorce instituted immediately in the high court? Is there certain aspects that should be met, or how does that work? Because somebody will say, I went to the magistrate's court to get divorced, and now it will happen in the regional court because that's where divorce takes place, in the regional court.
The district courts don't have jurisdiction to deal with it. Because it's a status application, and with the law changing to make the courts more accessible to everybody, the regional courts were now given the right to actually run divorces. Everything previously used to be run in the high court. And then you had certain regional courts across the country. I think there were 3 or 4 where you could actually get a divorce. But now it's a lot cheaper to run your divorce in the regional court than it is in the high court. You must remember that if it's going to be a massive fight, the high court has inherent jurisdiction to make up its own mind. Where the regional court is still a creature of statute. So it has to follow, this is what the case law says, this is what the high court has said, I'm going to follow this rule. So it depends on whether you find yourself in a position where your specific case, somebody needs an inherent ability to just say, I can make this ruling. Then we would push it into the high court. But the cost implications are also there. Where a regional court matter will cost you between 15 and 30,000 rand to run a divorce. In the high court, you're looking at 50 to the sky's the limit. I'm busy with one now where costs for both parties at this point in the high court are about 1.4 million.
Ew, that's insane.
So
that's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money to be throwing at this thing. And people must understand it can end up there, especially if it's a very acrimonious divorce.
I want to quickly take one step back. We spoke about the summons and the sheriff serving the summons, but there's one specific thing, the time period that's allowed once you are served with your summons. What's the difference in time period to defend the matter in the regional court opposed to the high court? Is there a day difference? Because my knowledge of that is limited at this stage.
This is where things get a bit iffy with me, and the same. In the regional courts, you work on your 10 days to defend. And then within 20 days, and we're talking about court days. So it's 2 weeks within which to defend, and then you've got another 20 court days within which to file your plea. Or or a counterclaim. The same periods arise in the high court, but depending on whether you're running applications and interlocutories in this process, the time periods change.
As easy as possible, we've now discussed you have time to oppose and so forth. What is the difference between an opposed and unopposed divorce? Because people don't know that.
As soon as a defense is lodged, it becomes a defended action. Now, a lot of people, and me personally as well, you buy yourself time, because now you've got 10 days within which to defend.
Yeah.
In that 10 days, I need you as a client to probably pull pension fund statements, get valuations on houses, motor vehicles, valuations on all the movables, ascertain what are the needs of the children versus the means of the parties. It's a lot of information to gather, collate everything, and then answer. So by defending, you're buying yourself that extra 20 days. But a lot of the time in divorces, we will enter into settlement negotiations with the other side. And then the parties, it's almost an unwritten rule where the parties agree, we will stay proceedings pending us trying to settle this divorce. Because it's not in the interest of the parties to fight in a divorce because of the cost implications, number one. The emotional trauma it's going to put you through. And for me, it's easy. I go to court, I sit over there, it's like it's a normal day. I'm so comfortable in the court setting. For somebody that's never been in a court, it's intimidating as all hell.
Only the only people that will understand that is people going to court for the first time or a clerk appearing for the first time. That's like, it's crazy. So
butterflies, the works, you don't know where to turn, you're looking for help from every person that's there. It's one of those things, and that's another reason. Get yourself an attorney. They're comfortable with the process, they know the people. Another thing that I always advise people, I've had clients approach me and they're coming from Bloem. Grant, we want you to handle our divorce in Bloem. I'm like, get yourself an attorney, a local attorney. Number one, they have relationships with the people and the court. Number two, they know who they're dealing with and what the structures are. Because for me to run a divorce in regional in Sasolburg, and for me to run a divorce in the regional Pretoria North, chalk and cheese. Because each court has its own manner in which it likes things to be run.
We spoke about the opposed and unopposed. The one thing people always want to know, and I understand that I'm like that as well. If I get the contractor to do something for me, I'm like, how many days? How long is this going to take you? People want to know, let's say we have an unopposed divorce. What is the quickest time frame that can be settled? Unopposed, no big deal. We've agreed to settle.
I'm going to put my head on the chopping block here. Because now everybody that's watching this is going to try and hold me to that. The fastest I've ever run a divorce was I saw the parties on a Thursday, and 3 weeks later,
they were divorced.
But these were parties that had already come to an arrangement. They had already settled. So I saw them on the Thursday. On the Friday, we had drafted the settlement agreement, which means my summons is a lot easier to deal with because it's basically, these are the parties, they weren't married that long, this is the situation, they both want a divorce, here's the settlement. So the Friday they signed their settlement. And then we went through the process, and in that settlement we actually built in a clause that says the defendant waives the time periods to getting this divorce. So, like I say, you can run it from 3 weeks. I've had divorces that have run 7 years as well, and that's the thing.
But that's usually the opposed one.
Coming back to your question on how long is it going to take? What is my exposure going to be towards costs? You're asking me to tell you how long is this piece of string. I cannot tell you. It all depends on what the interactions are between the parties, how these parties. I've got divorces where it looked like it was going to be settled, and then nitty-gritty things came in between, and it's now thrown a spanner in the works on the settlement. So it's very difficult to say.
Now, in South Africa, we have the opportunity to choose how we want to get married. There's no set thing. We can choose, if we keep it basic, married in or out of community of property. How does the matrimonial property regime that you choose when you get married affect the divorce proceedings?
Remember, if you're married without an antenuptial, then it's automatically in community.
Yes.
If it's a customary marriage, it's in community of property.
And I want to quickly stop there and emphasize this, because I had a discussion here in our foyer, and there were two people sitting there, and we actually spoke about Black Coffee, who now had to pay out a big sum of money because they didn't do the structure of everything the correct way. So before they entered, yes, they had an antenuptial contract, but before that was entered, they had some traditional ceremony. So I need to emphasize this is, if you are going to get married customarily, but you want to have an antenuptial contract, before you even think about talking about lobola or any of that, you go to an attorney, because if that thing is done prior, you are considered to be married in community of property. I mean, everybody has access to the internet. Google Black Coffee story, the DJ, you will read everything there.
Here's an example of what not to do.
Yes.
So
yes.
What you do here is get your antenuptials.
Yeah.
Even if you're entering a customary marriage, there's certain procedures that need to take place in terms of each separate customer. But it doesn't necessarily mean that you can't go get married civilly beforehand with an antenuptial.
Yeah.
Because that civil marriage, and you can do that at Home Affairs, will take precedence over what happens thereafter.
Yes.
But if certain things had happened beforehand, then you married in. And then it's a 50-50 split.
Yeah.
Another thing that I see people do a lot of the times, and I've had multiple of these type of matters before me, is they enter into an antenuptial contract. And then they don't list the assets that they're bringing into the marriage. So zero balance, now it's with accrual. Now we've got to see where's the most growth, and you split the difference.
That's the thing. People need to understand how the accrual is calculated as well. Me personally, I'm married with the accrual, and you need to know how that needs to be calculated. So explain, using the most basic example, how accrual is calculated, and do you recommend getting married with the accrual? If you think about divorce in the future, obviously we don't want to get divorced, but
nobody goes into marriage thinking about that they're going to ever split up.
Yeah.
It's that whole concept of till death do us part.
Yeah.
So they're always looking at the brighter side. We as attorneys look at the negativity, because we know what we have to deal with afterwards.
Our minds are wired like that.
So if you're getting married out of community of property with the accrual, it means that you look at the growth in each party's estate. So both parties have a separate estate because you're out.
Yes.
The parties whose estate grew more than the other parties, we look at the difference between what the other party's estate grew and the parties whose estate grew the most. So let's say, for example, one party's estate grew at 100,000.
Yes.
The other party's estate grew at 300,000 at the date of divorce. Now there's 200,000 difference here. That 200,000 of the biggest growth needs to be split.
Yeah. You need to end up, you at divorce you are here, but at the end you need to go there.
Yeah.
This is how you're going.
It's relative. It all depends on the growth.
Yeah.
It also depends on what was excluded. And then you get these interesting factors where one of the parties inherited money, but that's excluded from
excluded.
From any marriage.
Yeah, from your matrimonial property, that's excluded.
So then you've got to start doing those calculations, because we find a lot of the time, yes, they inherited, it was excluded. But then there's been mixing, because they used that money and bought other assets in the estate, and it wasn't properly invested, and this money was used to buy the other party a car or something like that. And then it becomes very difficult to get to those calculations.
Is there some way or another I can completely try and exclude something from the accrual system when it's calculated?
If there's specifics in your actual antenuptial.
Okay.
So you can actually agree before your marriage that pension funds will be excluded, but it has to be an explicit, actual written into agreement in your ANC.
Yeah.
And people don't understand that concept. So I've had people come to me and say, oh, Grant, I've got this thing, we married out, there was the accrual, but now I see, you agreed to that in the beginning. Is this your signature? So there's no coming back for it now. There are specific exclusions, but I would say the easiest way to make sure that those exclusions are taken, cognizance is taken and taken into consideration, is that it is specifically listed. So you can actually, in your antenuptial, say, oh, you're bringing in your house over here. That house will be excluded in the calculation should there be a divorce later.
Okay. Well, I want to keep this conversation going, and I'm going to stop us here now. I want it to be a part 2. I want the listener to come back. So this is us for this episode, but there's still so much to discuss. I can sit here with Grant and talk
the next 20 hours.
And he'll be late for court. So join us in part 2. We are going to go much deeper into especially the accrual, because it's something people don't know about. And I'm coming back to the layperson. You don't know how to calculate your accrual if you want to do the divorce. So knowledge is key, and we are here to equip you. So join us for the next episode. Thank you so much, Grant.
Only a pleasure.
We will be back, and remember to like and subscribe to our channel. This is like you're getting free legal advice from a senior director. So join us for part 2. I see you there. Bye-bye.
Thank you.